fresh from the eclipse season, the full moon in Aries on Thursday, October 17th, carries a very healing and transformative energy as it conjoins Chiron and squares Mars. Let's take a closer look and break it down for all 12 signs. My name is Anastasia. I'm a traditional Western astrologer specializing in natal, relationship, and predictive readings. If you like my work, please take a few seconds of your time to leave that like, a comment, subscribe, press the notification bell. I really appreciate all of the support you guys offer. You can also watch another one of my videos. That helps too. Or you can say thank you by buying me a tea, a coffee, a croissant, whatever your heart desires. Before we dive in, if you're looking for a personal reading, you have important questions you'd like to ask me, you can book a consultation on my website, anastasiadoesastrology.com. I do natal chart readings, solar return readings that are best done around your birthday, or you can do a year ahead look. You can do it at any point, or relationship consultations. There's also a couple of durations, so something for everyone. On my website, you can also find a variety of products I create, specifically my 2025 planner. It has 223 pages filled with astrological insights, journaling prompts, guides, full moons, new moons, that can help you set intentions and maximize the year to come. And on my website, you can also find my candles. I'd like to highlight my Sunlight in a Jar 3, as we are in Libra season. Libra season is the sun in the sign of its fall. It isn't its fall because Libra is all about balance, harmony, and compromise. And the sun wants to shine and get recognition and express its own light, right? So sometimes when you focus too much on others, it's really hard to get recognized for your gifts and sort of be a little bit selfish in a healthy way. So if you're looking for help shining, if you're looking for inspiration, you're looking for recognition, confidence, supportive authority figures, check out my beautiful Sunlight in a Jar 3 candle. This one is very close to my heart because I started my candle creation with solar candles. Sunlight in a Jar back in August 2021 was the first one I made, so this is the third edition and I couldn't be more happy with it. It also captures the sun in a sextile to Jupiter, so it could be really great for good luck and social activities, sort of intellectual pursuits too. Highly recommend this for any Libra sun or Aquarius sun, the signs of fall and detriment. If you're born with the sun in the 6th, 8th, or 12th, classically considered dark houses, it's harder to understand yourself when your sun is there. And if your sun is conjunct, square, or opposite Saturn, potentially the same for Neptune, because Saturn tends to overload you with responsibility and Neptune can create blurry sense of self. Okay, so let's talk about the full moon in Aries. It happens on Thursday, October 17th at 7:26 a.m. Eastern. So you'd have to adjust it for your time zone. And it occurs at 24 degrees, 34 minutes of Aries. So you will feel it this strongly if you have planets in the range of around 21, 27 degrees, cardinal signs. And that is Aries, Libra, Cancer, and Capricorn. Even if it's your midheaven or your descendant, ascendant, I see that counts too. It might affect you stronger. And this full moon is a bit too far from the nodes. The nodes are currently at 6 degrees, Aries and Libra, to be considered an eclipse. But it has that eclipse-like energy. It continues the themes of the eclipse we had in April. On April 8th, we had the solar eclipse in Aries. And so this full moon brings those themes from April back. It might also encourage us to revise something from April. And, you know, it will continue also. It might also feel like a chapter in a longer story that started in April, July 2023, which is in April 2023, we had our first solar eclipse in Aries. It's funny because we don't get any lunar eclipses in Aries. Aries is the first. Aries is all about new beginnings, and we get 3 solar eclipses in Aries. There was one in April 2023, April 2024, and then there's March 2025 coming up. Isn't it funny? So since we don't have any lunar eclipses in Aries, we get full moons in Aries, right? And those, like I said, will definitely continue the themes. And what is Aries? Aries is the sign of courage. It is the sign of independence. It is the sign of self. So the full moon in Aries occurs in Libra season. And Libra season is all about cooperation. It's all about others. It's all about getting along and making sure that everybody is happy. So quite regularly, every single time, right, we get the full moon in the sign opposite to the sun, to the current sun sign. So there's a suggestion there that we may have focused throughout Libra season too much on harmony and people pleasing and peacemaking, that we need to dial it back and we need to return to ourselves. The full moon is the opposition between the sun and the moon. So we have the sun in the people-oriented Libra and Aries in the I know other people matter, but I need to take care of me first, Aries. And so I see this full moon manifesting as like either you realize that you need to reclaim yourself, that you may be like remembering that you need to let go of some, you know, like reclaiming yourself in the process of pleasing other people. Like I said, if you have been too focused on other people, too focused on collaborating to a point that you forgot like what you want. So reclaiming yourself could be about taking a step back, treating yourself well, speaking up about what matters to you, or it could be about letting go of being too focused on yourself, right? Or like letting go of selfishness, letting go of patterns that don't serve you. So it's like focus on self. Where do you need more Aries or where do you need less Aries, right? Like where do you need to be more assertive and direct versus where are you being too assertive and direct? It's about getting the levels right, I think. So the full moon conjoins Chiron. The solar eclipse on April 8th also conjoined Chiron. So we're continuing these themes of healing, of accepting our own vulnerability, of sort of radical forgiveness and acceptance, and understanding that you can be brave even while being vulnerable. That maybe you need to look at yourself honestly and you need to kind of welcome and embrace every single part of yourself. The ruler is Mars in Cancer, so it's Mars in its fall, and Mars also squares this full moon. But I do like that there is a nice mutual reception between the moon and Aries. It's ruled by Mars, and Mars in Cancer is ruled by the moon. So even though Mars in Cancer in a square to this full moon might suggest that there is a little bit of like hurt feelings, resentments, passive aggressiveness, beware of being passive aggressive. Instead, try to be direct, try to be honest, right? We have been dealing with Mars in Cancer for a while, and we're going to continue dealing with Mars in Cancer as Mars begins its retrograde and travels from Cancer to Leo, from Leo to Cancer, and again, you know, back around. So Mars in Cancer is a very kind of like strong placement, and it's very much highlighted during this full moon. And Mars in Cancer is like a bear, mama bear archetype, right? So it's sort of quiet, but if you poke at it too much, or if you hurt someone Mars in Cancer loves, there is gonna be wrath that is gonna come. So I just feel like, you know, I feel like with the ruler being Mars in Cancer in the sign of a fall, with the conjunction to Chiron, and there's also a square to Pluto in Capricorn, you start with like Mars, Chiron, and then you end in a square to Pluto in Capricorn. You are kind of unraveling all of these vulnerable sides of yourself, and you are bringing attention to them, and you're realizing what you need to work on, what you need to heal, where do you need to be a little bit more selfish, where are you not letting yourself where are you being too selfish, right? And so you're getting opportunities to heal. I wonder if you can hear the rain. It's like pouring quite strongly. I'm filming this in August, even though I'm talking about October because I'm traveling in October, fingers crossed. I recently messed up my neck, so I'm like I can't move too much, or I need to move my full body. But the weather, I think, outside my window kind of looks kind of like it could be in October. So yeah, so there is opportunities to go within, to connect with the wounded and vulnerable, and potentially address it. I feel like I see this full moon in Aries as like, you cannot tiptoe around things. You should avoid being passive aggressive. You should avoid suppressing frustration and putting on this like sort of nice smile for other people. Sometimes Aries really teaches us that sometimes you have to deal with things and you have to speak up, and through conflict comes peace, right? So very much an invitation to be honest, to be direct, and then through addressing it with the square to Pluto, which is the last aspect, the applying aspect the moon is making, you get a chance to transform, to sort of embrace death and rebirth, and yeah, like let a part of you die, which will in the long run lead to fresh energy and sort of bring fresh energy into your life. If you're looking for a personal reading, book one on my website, anastasiadoesastrology.com. I'd be happy to talk about this, about the year coming up, about your relationship, or anything else you might be interested in. So let's talk about the rising signs, starting with the Aries rising. There's a full moon in your first house. So first house, there's a conjunction to Chiron, and it's about you. It's about your fears. It's about your insecurities. It's about self-acceptance. The sun has been in Libra. You have been focusing on other people a lot. Mars is in the fourth house of home and family, or maybe focusing on home and family. There's a square to Pluto in the 10th. Pluto in the 10th is suggesting that there's even more energy directed to your career. It's like it's a very dialed in full moon. It's activating everything in your life. And the full moon in the first is saying that, like, how about you turn down the volume on all of those things? How about you take care of you, and you come back to yourself, and you get clear on what matters to you? Take a look back at the eclipse we had in April, because that would have been part of the story. Maybe new beginnings, maybe a realization that something in your life is not serving you. The full moon in the first could be very sort of physical and tangible. It could be about your health. It's like if you have started exercising, if you have started a new diet, the full moon will offer opportunities to solidify that commitment, to maybe celebrate your accomplishments, to measure how much weight you lost, or measure how much progress you made in like physical sort of steps. Or it could be about healing. It could be about feeling like you no longer need other people to define you and tell you who you are. With the square and the ruler being Mars in the fourth, I wonder if you're healing childhood wounds. I wonder if you are addressing family troubles and maybe realizing that sometimes it's more important to speak up for yourself and to, sort of tell them how you feel instead of trying to please everyone. There could also be a sense of like seeking inner balance, inner sort of peace, and maybe the full moon offers a chance for you to improve your self-care, to improve your physical health, to present a world with a new version of you. Sometimes full moon in the first could be you getting procedure, you changing your wardrobe, you changing your style. But in reality, a lot of those outward visible changes are likely to spur from the internal changes. And so the full moon in the first and a square to Mars in the fourth might suggest that there is some kind of tension and frustration involving home and family. Even your living situation, maybe you have to move, maybe you're not sure what to do, but the answer lies in connecting with yourself, taking care of yourself, and getting clear on what you want, and maybe expressing what you want to people around you before you make any sort of rash moves. If you're looking for more, book a reading on my website, anastasiadoesastrology.com, and pick up my 2025 planner to help yourself navigate the year coming up. If you are the lovely Taurus rising, the full moon is happening in your 12th house. So it is a completion of the chapter started in April 2024 when we had a new moon solar eclipse in Aries in your 12th house. And the full moon in the 12th house is all about change to your mental health. It's about commitment to taking better care of your health. It might be the time when you're realizing you're sort of the full moon, the light of the full moon illuminates your self-defeating patterns. Even honestly, like questions around anger, I feel like here, right? Like as a Taurus rising, you are so beautiful. So beautiful, like mwah. But it's true, you're ruled by Venus. You are beautiful, you are charming, you care about people, you want everyone to get along. But what about your anger? Because you have it, right? Aries is your 12th house, but it doesn't mean you don't have anger. You do. Things upset you. Things frustrate you. There's a square to Mars in the 3rd. Maybe a sibling, maybe a neighbor, maybe a barista at your local coffee shop. There might be some type of like frustration. Even honestly, like watch out for driving too fast around the time of this full moon and rushing places and sort of trying to accomplish things too fast and overloading yourself. So like the full moon in the 12th will bring attention to how you deal with anger, how you deal with frustration, what are your natural tendencies are. I'm willing to bet that you're likely to suppress it and not sort of express anger as much. And so like what can you do about it, right? Like the full moon in the 12th might be you sign up for yoga, you sign up for a martial arts class, you start to talk to your therapist about it, you write an angry letter, some kind of burst of things coming into the open, especially with that Mars being the ruler in the 3rd house, writing, talking to your therapist, but also leaning into practices that create more peace, more calm. Education could be very powerful for you right now. Travel could be powerful. Yoga with the square to Pluto in the 9th. So trust your intuition, but make sure you don't like suppress things. And if they come up, if you hear like a ring, you know, like I said, if you get in a fight with someone, maybe don't neglect it. Instead, try to work through it. If you're looking for more, book a reading on my website, anastasiadoesastrology.com. You can also pick up my 2025 planner on there and get yourself ready for the year to come. Moving on to the lovely Gemini rising. For Gemini risings, there is a full moon in your 11th house. So this completes the chapter started in April 2024. And suggests that you are completing a group project or completing a social media project. 11th house is all about friendships, networks, your social life, and your hopes and dreams. So the full moon might bring, like, you know, if we're talking about friendships, there might be some kind of situation with friend that comes to a head. There's a square to Mars in the 2nd. So I wonder if a friend owes you money, or if you started something with a friend and you were supposed to both be equally invested into it and you ended up doing most of the work. The full moon in the 11th will say that your like wrath is justified and you maybe need to talk things out. The full moon in Aries will definitely say that, you know, if you have disagreements, if you have financial issues or anything else, it's better to try and discuss them instead of suppressing them, because if you suppress them, they still come out through other ways, right? Haven't we learned that throughout living, that you can't fully hide from your problems? Even if you go to like a beach in the beautiful Ibiza, they will still find you. So the full moon in the 11th is very much about looking at friendships, letting go of some friendships, recommitting to others, transforming something. There's a square to Pluto in the 8th, transforming, letting things die and be reborn. Changes around your social media presence. If you have started sort of planning to start a YouTube channel, maybe you started. If you've been working on something for a while with a friend, maybe you finally release it. A dream may no longer feel like it satisfies you, so needing to look at your dreams and your commitments from like a very honest perspective. And maybe with the full moon in the 11th, you're also getting a chance to step up and lead and give back to your community, volunteer, do some type of like charity work, or invest in something you feel passionate about. Please share how this resonates. If you're looking for more, book a reading on my website, anastasiadoesastrology.com, and pick up my 2025 planner to help yourself prepare for the year to come. It's a great addition. I personally use it like all the time because I love, dotting my T's, dotting my I's, crossing my T's, and planning my week as much as I can. If you are the lovely Cancer rising, the full moon in the 10th house completes the chapter started in April 2024 with a new moon in Aries and represents a completion of professional chapter. And when I say professional chapter, 10th house is not just your career. 10th house is your public life. 10th house is what you're known for. You may be known as a lawyer. You may be known as a housewife. You may be known as the mother, right? And so we've had North Node in Aries since July 2023. It would have brought attention to your heart's desires. It would have created a sense of like restlessness within you and a need to pursue the things that you're passionate about, right? Like you're Cancer rising, you're soft and squishy on some levels, but you're also very brave and heroic, especially when it comes to your career, when you're passion. So the full moon in the 10th, ruled by Mars in the 1st, is all about you. It's all about, and the Mars being in its fall, right? It's like there's maybe some type of anger you've been suppressing and some frustration you haven't been expressing, or even honestly putting yourself second to the needs of other people because you've been, the full moon is in opposition to the sun in your 4th house. Maybe there's been things with people you live with your family member, with your partner that you've been dealing with. But the full moon in the 10th is almost like this sense of like no more. You need to speak up, you need to change, and it could suggest that you're quitting a job, that you're starting a business, that you're wrapping up a project, that you're speaking to your boss, you're finally asking for a raise, or you're making some type of like important change to your path, to your visibility, right? And that could be like going from a work person to a housewife, going from a wife to a mother, going from like a housewife to a student, right? Like there is some kind of like important change. And then the full moon also squares Pluto in the 7th. Pluto is almost done with your 7th, right? But there is definitely that suggestion that the full moon not only transforms your career and public life, but also spills into your relationships. Like something needs to change in your relationships, in your contracts, right? Speaking of negotiating higher rate, or in your marriage, in order to allow for that freedom, for that professional sort of satisfaction that you're seeking. Please share how this resonates. Share if you could hear the rain. And if you're looking for more, book a reading on my website. Pick up a Moon in Cancer candle. This is perfect for you if I still have any. I'm filming this in August for October because I'll be away in October. And definitely get my 2025 astrology planner. I poured my heart and soul into it, and I think it could be as helpful for you as it is for me. It ships like to almost all over the world. If you are the lovely Leo rising, the full moon in the 9th house brings completion and change to your sector of education, travel, writing, legal matters, and publishing. Also beliefs and philosophies. And it suggests also some type of turning point and culmination to the projects you may have started in April 2024 when we had the solar eclipse in Aries. So very, like if we're thinking of education, the full moon might represent graduating or completing a course of study or starting a course of study if you've been like really busy applying and sort of getting your paperwork in order, etc. Travel matters might be highlighted if you've been trying to get a job that allows for travel, if you've been waiting for a visa or a green card or like citizenship, some kind of legal change of status might be important here. The moon is ruled by Mars in the 12th, so you might very much be looking for like escape. You might also, with Mars in the 12th, you might be looking for like spiritual fulfillment and satisfaction. And for some people, it might mean like getting away, going to like an ashram in India. While for others, it might be about just doing work that is more satisfying, or, living in a place that makes you happy. So the full moon in the 9th will definitely encourage you to move if you feel unhappy with where you live, to graduate, to even like become a teacher, become a guide to other people. I can see quite possibly too. What's interesting is there's also a square to Pluto in your 6th house, and Pluto is almost done with your 6th house, right? It's been there on and off since 2008, pretty much mostly on, a little bit on and off in the last year. Which could also represent that your work life is changing, your approach to your health is changing. That's another manifestation of the full moon in the 9th. The full moon in the 9th might also encourage you to like listen to your beliefs, to change your worldview, to change your the way you see the world. So the full moon in the 9th might be like some type of transformation of what you value. Like a political shift or a religious shift or a realization that what you eat is not good for you, so you cut off processed sugars or something like that. So anything from changes to how you view the world, to your legal situation and your place of living, to education, even writing, like completing some kind of writing project and publishing your work or presenting your work in a public context, I can also see here. Please share how this resonates, and if you're looking for more, book a reading on my website, anastasiadoesastrology.com. To the lovely Virgo risings, the full moon in your 8th house, the house of debts, loans, taxes, energetic exchanges with other people, completes a chapter started in April 2024 when we had a new moon solar eclipse in Aries in your 8th house. So here you're looking at your engagement with other people, right? And the full moon in the 8th might encourage you to tie yourself with somebody, like a brand reaches out and they offer a partnership, or somebody reads your work and suggests that you become a published author with them. So especially if it's something you've been working on, definitely take a look back at April. If you've been trying to get a partnership with someone, or if you've even been trying to hire someone to work with you, or you've been trying to pay off a debt, the full moon could be all about that. It could be about like some type of work you've been doing when it comes to engaging with other people that now reaches full circle. Or it could be about disentangling yourself. It could be, it's a full moon in Aries, so it's very much, and it's really close to not really, but it's in the same sign as North Node right now. If it was really close to North Node, it would have been an eclipse, but it's not quite an eclipse. But it's in Aries, and Aries is about the need to put yourself first. And so here you're looking at your engagements with other people, even, your pay at your job, or your dynamics you have with your older sister who always maybe treats you like a child, or your finances with your spouse where maybe you pay for most things, and you're asking a question of like, what do I want? What is important to me? And so you will get a chance to perhaps make some changes based on these realizations of like, what do you want? What is important to you? The full moon in the 8th could also bring a payment of debts, could bring letting go of some kind of contract, completing a contract, receiving money through an investment or an inheritance, and healing, because 8th house is also very much about healing. There is a square to Mars in the 11th, and Mars also rules the full moon, as well as a square to Pluto in the 5th. So this might also feel like you are perhaps allowing yourself to pursue new dreams and pursue creative pursuits, even maybe like matters involving children and childcare and parenthood might be highlighted at this time, and perhaps the changes you're making both financially or in terms of like disengaging, healing, maybe they're connected to those new dreams that are showing up in your life. Please share how this resonates. If you're looking for more, book a reading on my website. Pick up my 2025 astrology planner to help you navigate the year coming up. If you are the lovely Libra rising, there is a full moon in Aries in your 7th house and a square to Mars in your 10th house. And so here we are completing a chapter started in April 2024 when we had the solar eclipse in Aries. So definitely take a look back. A chapter that involves your relationships, your partnerships, your contracts and agreements. And the square to Mars in the 10th makes me wonder if there is some type of dissatisfaction you have professionally that encourages you to renegotiate your contract or encourages you to let go of, let's say, the team you've been on for a while in order to find something better. The full moon in the 7th is about relationships, but Aries is about self. So first you will have to figure out what is it that you want? What is it that makes you happy? And I know it could be hard for a Libra rising, right? I am one of you guys. So it could be hard for us to be like, this is what I want, because we're always sort of measuring things up against our relationships. But North Node has been in your 7th house since July 2023, and the questions of like personal goals, personal satisfaction, personal desires are very, very important. And there might be opportunities for release of something in a relationship, or maybe there's an opportunity to recommit to something or commit to a relationship or experience a change in a relationship that lets you make a partnership official, right? Once again, like if Mars in the 10th represents some type of dissatisfaction, maybe you talk about things, and let's say you've been wanting to get married, so you mention it and you decide to get engaged, or you feel unhappy with your job and you start a business with someone who's like a partner, you know, romantic, or even a friend, or someone who's like your business partner. The square to Pluto in the 4th might also suggest that there is a certain dose of healing that needs to be done. There might also be transformations around your living situation, around like healing childhood wounds. So like it's very kind of plugged in, right? Changes to relationships that are both connected to career, but also living situation, I can quite see here. And it's an interesting one, because like full moon in the 7th, quite often you might look at it and be like, well, maybe it's about solidifying a relationship. But I think here, solidifying, committing, getting engaged, married, etc. is possible, but only if you feel like your needs are not being dismissed and overlooked. Please share how this resonates. If you're looking for more, book a reading on my website, anastasiadoesastrology.com. You can also find my 2025 planner on there. Definitely pick one up. If you are the lovely Scorpio rising, the full moon in the 6th house completes the chapter started in April 2024 and brings changes around health, work, service to other people, your diet, exercise, and pets. So a lot of things. The ruler is Mars in the 9th, and Mars in the 9th might suggest that you are completing a course of study, or you're studying, you're maybe wanting to become a teacher, a guide, a mentor to other people. Maybe you're wanting to be like in a little bit of a higher up position. You might also be dealing with some kind of frustrations involving legal matters, involving logistical things. And so the full moon in the 6th will give you an opportunity to change how you do work or to change your job, right? The full moon in the 6th might be, you know, they have been giving me all these tasks. It doesn't make sense. Maybe I need to let go of this job, or maybe I need to apply for a position where I'm more in charge and I can be the one who assigns tasks, right? There might also be the square to Mars in the 9th might also suggest that you are going through a sense of like shift in terms of what you believe. You're maybe realizing, learning something about health, around care for other people. And so the full moon in the 6th, maybe it's your opportunity to transform your diet or transform what you do for a living to become more of a healer, more of sort of being a caregiving profession a little bit more. There's also a square to Pluto in the 3rd house, which definitely suggests changes to your everyday life. So I think, you know, long story short, I think full moon in the 6th is an invitation to examine how you do things in your everyday life, examine how you take care of yourself, and ask yourself whether you are happy. Is your body happy? then if it's not, make changes to what you're eating, how you're exercising. Is your mind happy, or is it stressed and overwhelmed? Then maybe make changes to your career. Sometimes a simple act of decluttering or speaking your mind can do a lot. So you might also find an opportunity to just talk it out, express things, and be honest, because the tendency with Mars in Cancer might be to avoid conflict, but the full moon in Aries says that you can find peace through conflict. So don't hesitate to be honest. Let me know how this resonates. If you're looking for more, book a reading on my website, anastasiadoesastrology.com, and pick up my 2025 astrology planner that I worked really hard and put a lot of love in. If you are the beautiful Sagittarius rising, the full moon in the 5th house brings attention to your house of romance, pleasure, self-expression, and children, and suggests a completion of the chapter started in April 2024 when we had a solar eclipse in Aries, new moon in Aries. So the full moon in the 5th house brings attention to your pleasure and to topics of pleasure, right? And so the full moon in the 5th could be, there's also a square to Mars, which rules this full moon in the 8th, could be a realization that maybe you have habits that are costly, both to your health and to your wallet. Maybe you have some type of you go out, you party a lot, you come back home, you don't know where the money went. So the full moon in the 5th could be a chance to look honestly at which habits are healthy for you and which ones are not. There might also be a chance to commit to something that brings you pleasure, right? And maybe the square to Mars in the 8th is a bit of a frustration you're feeling around the topic of needing to find money for it. Changes around parenthood, getting pregnant, talking to your significant other about children, about wanting to get pregnant are also possible here. Creative sort of pursuits that are also joyful and pleasant that you want to commit to are likely. Maybe even some type of change and transformation in the life of your child that might be a bit frustrating because of how much money it costs or something like that. The money matters are quite strongly highlighted with Mars being in the 8th and Pluto being in the 2nd house. Matters, values, agreements with other people. And of course, one other thing, the full moon in the 5th might suggest that your romantic relationship is transforming, perhaps because of the financial situation. If you feel like your partner hasn't been taking their money matters seriously and, they haven't been paying off their debts, and you are this maybe structured, organized Capricorn sun, or any other placement, you're just structured and organized. Maybe you choose to separate from a relationship, or you choose to have an honest conversation about it and come up with some kind of strategy that lets you take care of the thing that you find annoying, right? Something you talk about it and you offer your partner help or something like that. But definitely sort of deep transformations to values, finances, letting go of bad habits, committing to pleasure, rethinking relationships for whether they make you happy or not. Please share how this resonates, and if you're looking for more, book a reading on my website, anastasiadoesastrology.com. To the lovely Capricorn risings, there's a full moon in your 4th house, which brings completion, change, transformation in the house of home, family, and living situation. Here you are sort of continuing the topic started with the new moon in Aries in April 2024, and maybe experiencing a sense of settling down. If you have been looking for a home, if you have recently moved, changed houses. I know a lot of Capricorn risings, clients and friends who have recently relocated and bought a property, right? So the full moon in the 4th might encourage you to do more work in your home, to maybe connect with neighbors, to do things that make you feel at ease. There might also be an invitation to examine your dynamics with family or family-like people in your life, because the full moon squares Mars in your 7th, and Mars is also the ruler of this full moon, and it might suggest that there is some type of like tensions romantically, or tensions in your other relationships, some type of like conflicts that you don't feel quite happy about. Like, I don't know, a sister moved in with you and is not planning to move out, and it's been like 6 months at this point. So the full moon in the 4th might also invite you to have an honest conversation, to set better boundaries, to explore what frustrates you, and maybe even heal something from the like a childhood wound, if I haven't said that already. But like the full moon in the 4th is maybe an invitation to examine how your childhood and how your frustration with something that happened in the past is still affecting your present, because the full moon also squares Pluto in your 1st house, Pluto that is almost done with Capricorn, but like maybe inviting you to examine all of these like dynamics with family, dynamics with even neighbors, childhood wounds, questions of comfort and security, and make improvements to those so that you feel more like yourself in your home and in your life, right? One might always use a sense of feeling like yourself in your life. If you're looking for more, book a reading on my website, anastasiadoesastrology.com. And on my website, you can also find the candles I create and my 2025 planner, which could be a useful addition to your life and can help you maximize the year coming up. If you are the lovely Aquarius rising, the full moon in Aries highlights your 3rd house and brings changes to communication, completion of your writing projects, exams that you need to take, maybe taking some exams. There might also be changes to your everyday life and your relationships with siblings, neighbors, your local community, maybe different involvement with your local community. The full moon also completes the chapter started with the solar eclipse in Aries in April 2024. So take a look back. Have you started some kind of petition, or started a writing project, or started studying for an exam, right? Or maybe a difficult conversation with a sibling popped up, or some kind of issue with a sibling popped up that you needed to address. So the full moon might very much bring culmination and like return of those topics, right? The full moon also squares Mars in the 6th, and Mars rules this full moon. So the full moon in the 3rd, ruled by Mars in the 6th, might suggest that there is some type of dissatisfaction with your colleagues. Maybe you feel like they've been unloading all of their tasks on you, or dissatisfaction with how much other people expect of you. Maybe maybe it's like family members or neighbors. There might be some type of like adjustment that needs to be made. Changes to your schedule maybe need to be made if you've been feeling overwhelmed and overloaded. And conversations, yeah, I may have said it already. I feel like in my head I said it 3 times. But like having to talk things out, right? Like the full moon in the 3rd is very much like you cannot pretend like everything is fine. Mars has been in Cancer since early September. Mars in Cancer doesn't like confrontation. It might suppress things until they explode. So this full moon is your invitation to get ahead of the explosion and try to diffuse the situation by talking about it. Full moon in the 3rd might also be the time you need to update your car, take it to a consultant. You may need to declutter your space. You may need to maybe let go of some commitments so that you can take better care of yourself and your health, and sort of streamline your routines. There is a square to Pluto in the 12th, and Pluto in the 12th I think will highlight your blind spots and will offer opportunities to take care not just of your physical health in your everyday life, but also of your mental health. Let me know if this resonates, and if you're looking for more, book a reading on my website, anastasiadoesastrology.com. Last but not least, if you are the beautiful Pisces rising, there's a full moon in Aries in your 2nd house, completing the chapter started with the solar eclipse in Aries in April 2024. Take a look back. What was happening in your finances? What was happening around your goals and dreams and maybe professional life? So the full moon in the second house will suggest some type of transformation around money, right? The sun is in Libra, your 8th house, so there's a lot of focus on like our resources, our goals, but the full moon in the second suggests that you need to figure out what you desire, what you want to spend on, what you want to invest into, and maybe even like clear some of your debts, right? Before you can get to that place of like our money and our goals. So the full moon in the second very much could be an opportunity to pay off a debt, to make an investment, to make a purchase if you've been saving for something. The ruler is Mars in the 5th, the house of children, the house of pleasure. It is in a square to both the sun and the moon. So maybe you're also examining your spending habits. Maybe you're examining, like, you know, with Mars in the 5th, what you spend on. Like, sorry about, I messed up my neck. I'm filming this in August, and so I can't move properly, so I'm doing a full body move. Let's hope this starts soon. This stops soon, not start. But I feel like with the full moon in the second house in a square to Mars in the 5th, there is potentially a chance to like invest into what's pleasurable or release a spending habit. Like maybe you're looking at, you know, smoking cigarettes. Maybe you've been smoking and you, the sound is like insane. But that's what New York is all about. Maybe like you're cutting down on some kind of bad habits that are actually costly for you. Or you are, you know, like with Mars being in the 5th house and a lot of focus being on dating and pleasure and children. Maybe there is a need to redirect your finances somehow and like become more organized with your finances. There's also a square to Pluto in the 11th, which suggests to me a transformation of your dreams, potentially. I wonder if there is like a pregnancy that you didn't expect or didn't plan for that affects your resources. Or by pregnancy, you can replace pregnancy with any other word potentially and say that it's like not pregnancy, but maybe a passion project that costs a lot of money, or maybe it's not the right time for it, but you are so passionate about it, you're willing to find the resources. If you're looking for more, book a reading on my website. I'm glad this happened when I was doing Pisces and not all the other signs. But sorry, Pisces, I don't have control over what's going on outside my window. If you're looking for more, book a reading on my website, anastasiadoesastrology.com. You can also find my products on there. Pick up my 2025 astrology planner. And I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you found it supportive and helpful. And I will talk to you very, very soon. Bye.